hold themselves in very good stead today at Nazareth, Pennsylvania. But the old dirt standbys occupied the top spots by checker time. Unlike the previous evening at Flemington, New Jersey, when preliminaries claimed many mechanical casualties, they were reasonably smooth today at Nazareth. Jeff Hetzler had this minor spin, but no cars were seriously damaged. One of those new drivers, Billy Pouch, known for his prowess on dirt, shot to the lead first. But his reign of terror lasted only a few laps before a vibration problem parked his leading racer.
Yeah, she was really running good, I'll tell you that. You know, it just seemed flawless in there. It started to lose the power of steering, and I could still drive it pretty good. I didn't think we were losing no time, and I don't know what it was. I picked up a vibration. I don't know if we picked the weight off a wheel or what happened, but I figured rather than chance of something letting loose, I pulled in. We'll check, see what it is.
You had to be feeling very good, though, Bill.
The car was handled perfect. I think we would have been the guy to beat today, you know.
Make you hungry to come back for another pavement race?
Yeah, we'll look forward to the fall here.
Kevin Collins, a local favorite, was feared by many. He's been fast all week, but his threat never materialized. Some of the best racing in the early laps faced two of those new dirt drivers face-to-face. Ray Evernham in number 2P and Lenny Boyd at number 22. Boyd would eventually finish third, but they had some very close calls and close dicing in traffic. Bob McCready started last after an all-night session to repair damages from those preliminaries in the night before. But he moved steadily and methodically forward. This turned out to be a race of strategy, when to pit and when not to pit. Decker and Hearn were the first two to pit, and guess where they finished the race. Hearn's chances did not look too good after closer inspection of his right rear tire after the pit stop. But he said his crew had made some changes, and the changes worked out for the better. Midway through the race, both Hearn and McCready had asserted themselves, and it moved to the front.
We just kept picking away. He didn't feel good in the car all day. We just kept changing little things. He just said a couple of turns of wedge early in the race would have really cured it. Now we just got to ride it out.
We felt if we stopped any time after 20, we'd be in good shape. We can go the rest of the way just as long as the tires hold up.
But the tire looked like it took a lot of abuse. Did you have to drive differently, or did you make some changes?
We tried a different brand tire, a little bit harder compound now, so I think we'll be all right.
Jimmy Horton had led or run near the front all day long until this incident in heavy lap traffic put him against the inside rail and out of the race.
Well, what happened is we got into lap traffic, and the lap car got tapped from behind with another lap car. Just got a little bit sideways and started wiggling a little bit, and I gave him a little bit of room, and then I got tapped and just got in a long slide and got in the inside wall.
Then Bob McCready, after that overnight marathon session, had the roof come loose on his car, basically a stress fracture from those repairs of the previous evening. Very late in the race, Billy Decker moved in on Hearn and appeared to have a hot setup. But suddenly his tires began to blister badly, and it halted his march. Fred Hearn went on to win yet another race on pavement, another race in DIRT. Here's Brett in victory lane.
But there's a lot of G-forces on asphalt, and I was getting pretty tired. My neck was giving out a little bit, and but the adrenaline kept me going.
Your future in this race did not look real bright after that first pit stop. I looked at that tire. I don't know if you had a chance of seeing it yet in person, but it didn't look very healthy.
No, I could feel it was a problem, and I knew that if we didn't get a caution lap to get back in the pits quick, we were going to be in big trouble. I really had visions of blowing a right rear tire, but fortunately, I said to the guys on the radio, I said, this right rear is blistered. I can feel it, and let's go to game plan 2, and we came in here and they just performed a great stop. I had a little trouble on the stop, but it didn't matter. There weren't anybody else in the pits. We didn't lose any positions or anything on it. So we just got back out there, and as soon as I got into traffic for the second time with the new tires on, now I'll tell you, it was like a different race car.
I just abused the car so hard trying to catch him. I probably could have used my brain a little more and caught him a little later in the race. I thought there was less laps available than what there was, and I just abused the car too much trying to catch him. By the time I got there, I was out of right rear tire.
Fred Hearn, of course, came home first, followed by Billy Decker. Lenny Boyd, the old midget driver who has been running modifieds back home, was third. Doug Hoffman, a late race charge, is fourth, and Danny Johnson was fifth. For This Week on Dirt, I'm Larry Newber.
What a sophisticated, competitive race.
Yeah, competitive is the right word, Doug. Now with the Wall Stadium and Flemington guys in the fray, the Dirt Asphalt Series is very competitive. In the years past, it's been kind of a two-car show with McCready and the Billy Taylor #1. Now there's at least 10 guys in the lead pack.
All right, the very next asphalt race is at Flemington on Monday, May 27th. The Skoll Racing Super Dirt Series comes to the square with all the stars. Get your tickets early. It will surely be sold out.
And my look at the Outlaws will be up next, right after some weekend winners.
This week on...
You have to worry about pit strategy until September or October. But now with Nazareth kicking off the season in April, drivers have to think about it right off the bat. Here's Mark Kenyon with our Sunoco High Octane Report.
Now, this week's Sunoco High Octane Report.
For this week's Sunoco High Octane Report, we're going to take a look at the fueling and refueling system on a Dirt Modified. Your Dirt Modified has a 22-gallon fuel cell. The pickup is in the right side of the car. When the car goes into the turn, the fuel will naturally slosh to this side of the car and ensures we pick up all of our fuel. It has a vent line and a main fill line. The crew will pull this cap here to check the fuel level in the car. During a pit stop, as in the Bud Asphalt Challenge races, the crew will use an 11-gallon NASCAR-style dump can. This allows us to refuel very fast. The crewman will be here normally with a catch can to ensure we don't spill any fuel, and we're on our way in less than 10 seconds. For this week's Sunoco High Octane Report, I'm Mark Kenyon.
The packed racetracks from California to Ohio, and why not? With the likes of Kinser, Wolfgang, Swindell, and Blaney back in the saddle. This weekend wasn't much different. If you came to see the magic names, you weren't disappointed. Here's Andy's report.
On Saturday night, the World of Outlaws returned to the American mecca of sprint car racing, the Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa. Big field on hand. Kinser, Kaufman, Smith, Swindell, and Blaney. But the man to beat, you guessed it, Doug Wolfgang. The Wolf has really made the most of Steve Kinser's recent World of Outlaws slump. Let's go to heat race action. Turn 3. The number 65 of Jim Carr spins, and the number 1 of Pat Moore, nowhere to go but over on the roof. Now the 20-lap preliminary feature that has been rain delayed from Friday night. Wolfgang on the point takes the early lead, but keep your eyes on the top of the screen. Turn number 1. Keith Kaufman into the wall, then waltz from behind. 2 flips. Sorry to report, Kaufman sustained a broken ankle in this one. Now returning to the action. Turns 3 and 4. Wolfgang in the 49. He's leading, getting his way through traffic. But right in the hunt behind him, Sammy Swindell in the black number 1. It'd be a Wolfgang Swindell show for the entire 20-lap distance. And what about Steve Kinser, you ask? Well, here he is laboring back in 4th place. He wouldn't be much of a factor in the first feature, but he'd be a factor before the night is over. Now, here we are, last lap, first feature. Wolfgang in the 49, Swindell in the 1. Wolfgang goes high, the door is open. Swindell blows the motor, though, coming across the line, and Doug Wolfgang wins the preliminary 20-lap feature. Now it's time for the 35-lap nightcap. The World of Outlaws with their typical and historic 4-wide salute to the fans. Early lap action. Dave Blaney in the yellow number 7. Steve Kinser in the white number 11. Side by side with Sammy Swindell with the best seat in the house. They ran side by side for several laps until Kinser used the high road to get around Blaney and take the lead. Now Blaney's got Sammy Swindell in tow. Swindell goes to the low side. Blaney goes up to the high side. Will Swindell make it stick? Yes. No. Blaney back into second place in traffic. But Sammy Swindell wasn't quite finished yet. Here we are, later in the action. Blaney down at the bottom. Sammy Swindell, watch this move in 3 and 4. Swindell goes way to the high side of the Knoxville Oval. Up where only eagles dare to fly, and Sammy Swindell bolts into second place. Meanwhile, up front, it's still Steve Kinser, the leader. Sammy Swindell wouldn't be able to run him down, and Kinser ends a long drought with a popular victory in front of the Knoxville faithful. Sammy Swindell second, Dave Blaney third.
Think of how discouraging it must be for the rest of Ted Johnson's troops to face the number 1 and the number 11 and the number 49 week after week.
Well, no really different than the NASCAR guys having to chase the number 3 every week, or the dirt guys having to chase the 9 or the 28. All forms of racing are essentially a bell curve.
I guess that's right. Mark your calendars for the first week in June for the Outlaws to visit dirt country at Orange County, Lebanon Valley, Rolling Wheels, and Canandaigua. Next up, the Flemington story.
Starring Doug Hoffman and Paul Cool. Stay tuned.
Flemington last year when they closed the books on the oldest continuously running dirt track in the East. But an equally historic event took place this past weekend as the square rose again as asphalt. Many had a hard time believing it, including our Paul Small.
Opening day to Speedway. There's nothing like it anywhere. Lots of fans getting their hot dogs and their hamburgers and checking out the brand new equipment in the pits. And there's a lot of it to look at. There's something different, though. What's a street sweeper doing out on the racetrack? Well, the Flemington Fair Speedway pace car is here. That's normal. There's a big field of cars, and there's a ton of people in the grandstands. By now, you've guessed it. Flemington's gone asphalt for the 1991 season, and the new surface takes some getting used to. Here's Bob McCready getting used to the racing line at Flemington. He wasn't the only one to have problems. Here's Jimmy Horton, Danny Johnson, and Lenny Boyd having a little altercation at the conclusion of a heat race. Now, here's some more action from the start of another heat. Typical Flemington action as Kevin Collins gets his front end stress tested on the front straightaway. In the sportsman feature, well, things weren't too much better as some of the competitors are still trying to get a grip on driving on an asphalt surface. And here's more of the same. It wouldn't be Flemington without lots of action all the way around the racetrack, especially on the restart. Things can get kind of hectic. It was Jim Loesch picking up the victory in the sportsman feature event, the first modified event on the asphalt. Then the big block boys took to the racetrack for a 30-lap feature go. Right at the start, Mark Fusco gets sideways, and a bunch of guys pile in from behind. Take two on the restart. Now watch Billy Pouch. He gets down, almost pinches the inside guardrail. He drifts out. Bob McCready makes a sudden right turn to avoid him. Bang into Lenny Boyd. Boyd out of the race. McCready with a severely damaged automobile. Doug Hoffman then took the lead on the third restart, third time's the charm. As the field made their way around, it was the two of Ray Evernham, following him by Chip Slocum as he continued to move through the pack. Evernham then spun and had to work his way up from the rear of the field. Tommy Hager also got out of shape, but he was able to gather his brand new asphalt car up. In the middle point of the race, Hoffman found Jimmy Horton in the active two, right on his back bumper as the two worked their way through some slower traffic. Horton made the move going to the inside of the third turn to get by Hoffman and take over the number one spot. But Doug returned the favor in his blue 60 over just a couple of laps later and went on to win the first ever dirt asphalt race at Flemington Speedway.
Doug Hoffman. Very successful night, big crowd. Those cars were going fast, and they were all over the place. What do you think, Andy?
Well, you know, Flemington's always been kind of a scary place, and now that it's paid, it's going to be scarier than ever. As to whether it's a success or not, I won't be the judge of that. Let's ask a couple of principals from the Flemington opening night show.
Well, you know, everybody was excited about getting there, and I was taking a kind of wait-and-see attitude, but, you know, we come home the lucky winners, and, yeah, I'm real happy. The car worked real good. I felt real comfortable all night long. It's a real fast racetrack, and it's a real tiring racetrack, so I'm still, you know, I'm still going to wait to form my opinion about what I think of blacktop racing on a regular basis. I mean, I really enjoy it when we do it once in a while, but now we're going to be doing it every Saturday night. I'm going to kind of wait and form my opinion as a couple races go by.
I was concerned that there might not be any passing in the beginning because that's an unknown factor, but we've got plenty of competition as we just saw with this feature here. That was a battle right down to the end, and I think it's going to be great. It's going to get better every week once they get rubber into the track and like that.
There still must be a lot of nostalgia here. As I said earlier, my heart is where dirt is, but the future of racing is on pavement.
I know the future's on pavement. I was a dirt fan all my life. I love dirt racing, but I know what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years with environmental procedures and everything else. So we're going to have to go to asphalt, and so we might as well do it the best. We went all out on this facility to make it the finest asphalt track around, and I think the fans have all come up to me and appreciate it, so I'm glad we made the move.
That has to be, for you as a promoter, the most pleasing aspect of all this. It doesn't look like you scared too many people away over the winter.
No, we sure didn't. We haven't parked in the horse ring. We haven't parked in the Cowborns. Every place else there. The place is jam-packed.
I'd say you're looking forward to the future of Flemington, aren't you?
I am, and it's great.
Oh, how the fans turned out. Let's hope the racing remains competitive. Andy, this could be an experiment that will attract a number of interested parties.
Yeah, and speaking of parties, there were a lot of parties Saturday night on the dirt circuit. Our weekend wars right after this. Track on the dirt circuit last weekend was packed to the rafters. The weather was absolutely beautiful Friday and Saturday nights. Here's Paul Small with our weekend wars.
Gary Waters and Mark Fleury led the field down to the drop of the green flag of Saturday night's modified feature go at the Lebanon Valley Speedway. Fleury from the outside front row took the lead entering turn number 1 with Waters right behind him. In mid-pack, some action with Dickie Larkin trying to move up. Eddie Marshall had problems on the restart, backed up a bunch of drivers behind him, but Kenny Tremont was able to pull to the outside and got the horsepower to get by Waters and move behind Fleury in the number 2 spot. Meanwhile, at the bottom part of the top 10, Dickie Larkin, Maynard Ferret, and Mark Quinn were staging a battle royal for position. On the final lap, Mark Fleury leading. Kenny Tremont in the number 2 spot tries to get down to the inside in traffic, but Fleury pins Tremont behind a slower car, gets the slingshot, and goes on to take his 18th career feature win at the Lebanon Valley Speedway. Friday night was a double feature night at the Paradise Speedway for the dirt sportsmen. Number 58, Scott Schrader, who won a couple of features at the beginning of the season, was a little out on luck Friday night as he got caught up in traffic. Here's Stubby Pangrazio in the 11, catches the 99 of Timmy Burnett, and they wind up sliding to the outside of turn number 1. Steve Led has his share of problems. He does the Paradise Polka over in turn number 2. The number 10 of Jim Spano came by the 13 of Ray Preston in the middle point of the race to take over the number 1 spot, but Spano's lead did not last long. As Tim Sebring battled for position in mid-pack, Spano hit Chuck Bowers number 99 and went over hard on the front straightaway. He was okay. The car was heavily damaged. Bauer took his injured car home to Victory Circle in the first dirt sportsman feature of the evening. In the second feature, Burnett and Stubby Pangrazio were again working from the 1 and 2 spots, but this time it was a different story as Burnett got the lead going down the back straightaway, and Stubby Pangrazio in the 11 wound up retiring with mechanical problems a few laps later. Burnett went on to take the checkered flag in the second sportsman feature of the evening. Opening night now at the Can-Am International Speedway, the largest crowd in Can-Am history, getting ready to take in the first dirt race of the North Country racing season. And what a race it was. On the front row was Rod Winters and the 711, the Paparello car, driven this year by Jimmy Johnson. These two drivers staged a terrific battle after Johnson's initial bobble on the start. They ran side by side for nearly 20 laps. Neither driver could get an advantage. The racetrack, the equalizer. Some bad ruts here and there on the opening night racing surface made things tough, but Winters eventually bobbled, and Johnson streaked by to go into the number 1 spot. On the final lap, Vince Kenneville in the 38 gets by Winters on the inside of turn number 3. Johnson takes the victory. Kenneville takes second. Johnson was a very happy man in victory lane.
You probably won't see this car again till next weekend? Saturday we're going to run here, and then Sunday rolling wheels with the big motor. You'll put a big motor in it for Sunday. No, we'll run the old 10 car from last year.
For the Weekend Wars, this is Paul Small.
And the evidence is in. What is the jury's verdict for our nice and easy grocery shops driver of the week?
Well, a trio of drivers had big weekends. Alan Johnson won Friday night at Ransomville and Saturday night at Canandaigua. Jack Johnson got his comeback at the Track of Champions Fonda Speedway off to a great start, winning his 108th career win. But our driver of the week, Brett Hearn, he won 2 features, Middletown and Nazareth, and the Nazareth race, the plum of the spring.
All right, now for that effort, Brett Hearn receives $200, a special medallion, and is now eligible for the Nice and Easy Grocery Shop's Driver of the Year award and $1,000. Well, terrific weekend down at Nazareth. The race scheduled to air on Prime Network May 16th or May 19th, depending on what part of the country you'll be viewing.
But fans don't have to wait until May 16th or 19th to see racing. You can see it live this Sunday at the Rolling Wheels Raceway, the Dirt Challenge Cup 91. And, Doug, I like that Nazareth show, but I'm glad these cars are back on dirt.
Oh, yeah, me too. And let me say congratulations to all the folks at Pennsylvania International Raceway for a great show. For Andy Fusco, Doug Logan, thank you for joining us, and so long for now.